Hello everyone, welcome back to ColdFire Productions, and today we have a behind the scenes of the creation of Assassin vs. Knight, the first part, which is Confrontation. So I'm Ben. I was in charge of writing the story and creating the storyboard and the pre-visualization.
I'm Abraham. I was in charge of the shots, the individual shots, helped with the music and the editing.
And I'm Jonathan, and I was mostly in charge of the music composition and what was happening with the voice acting and the direction of it.
Okay, so today we have this breakdown of the behind the scenes of our creation of this video that we made. How many views did we get in one day?
We got about 100 in the first day.
That's pretty impressive.
That's a proud moment right there.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, wow.
And so we have our behind the scenes broken down into 5 parts. First, we have the story, which will be mainly me talking. We have the visuals will be shared by me and Abraham. Music, Abraham and Jonathan will be discussing that a little bit because, believe me, I had no part in that. They're the musical talents. Voice acting, there'll be a lot about Jonathan. And editing, Abe, you're gonna finish this.
Yeah.
You're gonna
cap it all off.
Yeah, cap it all off and see how.
Seal the deal.
Maybe we'll have a bonus section for like memorable likes and dislikes.
Memorable likes. Also the stuff that we learned.
Yes,
that's an important part. And maybe some mistakes that we made, because I know like there were some mistakes we made.
That'll be in the what we learned section, so we're good. Okay. Let's begin.
All right. So the first thing that comes with any story or with any creation of this, you have to start with the story. So what is the story? Well, it starts out with an idea, basically. So what was the idea for your story? And if you're ever wanting to create something for yourself, whether if it's like an animatic like we did, an animation, or
just a novel,
or just a novel or book, you have to start with a good story. And that story comes with an idea. So what is your idea? You usually write down...
What was your idea? We're talking about your process.
Okay, so my idea was basically trying to play a little twist on some tropes that I've seen in a lot of TV shows and anime. And one of those tropes that I've seen a lot is the main protagonist and their refusal to kill the bad guy whenever, you see the villain, like they're struck down and like they're at their worst. And then the villain's like, all right, kill me. And then the main protagonist says, no, I'm not going to kill you. I'm better than that. Or like everyone has a right to life. You deserve to live. You have a chance to get better. So I just wanted to play a little twist on that. Like, what if there was a villain that actually wanted the hero to kill him and would stop at nothing to make sure that he was dead by the hero's hand? And
that became the assassin.
And so I was writing down like backstories for the assassin. I was writing down like what would lead to this process. And basically like the idea that I had for Assassin vs. Knight, which was ultimately the final product, was the ending scene of like the final encounter with this knight and this assassin that just wants justice to be placed upon him.
So in a sense, you're saying that you had written kind of like a larger story, but then you just
took a part of that and then just wrote that down into like, I actually wrote it down into a novel format, which is actually the second part. You have to actually write it down, because if that idea just stays in your head and you just talk about it so much, it's not going to do anything. You have to actually write it down on paper. I wrote it down in a novel format, but looking back, I think it would have been best if it was like in a script format. And there's a lot of templates out there. Like even Microsoft Word has a template for how to write your script. And so I wrote it down into a novel format, which worked for me at that moment. And I just started running away. And
so at what point did you know that you wanted to make a video on this? Because I knew, you told me like a couple times about this story, and with the story of the Assassin vs. Knight, and I knew that like it was potential for something. But when did you want to put it into a ColdFire production? And as our first, no less.
Well, the thing I wanted really from this was that I thought that the story was compelling enough. I wanted to deliver like that message about like, you know, just sparing a villain's life is more than something, but I also wanted to bring out some quality visuals to go along with it, because I know this could have been great in novel format, but I kind of wanted to push the boundaries to see what, you know, we as ColdFire, and me, you, Abraham and Jonathan, to see what we could do. And I wanted to bring that into visuals, because we know that, you know, words may be nice, but if you add pictures and sound and music to
maybe
stuff
animation as well.
Yeah, maybe animation.
Hopefully for part 2.
Yeah, hopefully part 2. But like adding all those things together, that's what I thought would just enhance the story.
Okay. Interesting. So just get your story down, and that's when
Very good start.
we decided to actually make it a thing, and that's when we started working on visuals.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, not exactly. There's actually one more part, and actually that's editing.
oh, right, correct.
Like one thing it is that we like to think that writing it down just one time, just getting out of our heads, and then we just use the first thing we write down. It's like, okay, this is the masterpiece. Well, that's not exactly the case. Like this went through like a bunch of edits. I think it was like 10 official edits.
Versions, you mean?
Yeah, 10 different versions. A lot of it was like in my head, and then when I was writing it down, like writing, it was like an extra of 5 more. So like it was a lot of editing. And even like when we were putting down visuals and previs, there were still...
The story was still changing.
Yeah, the story was still changing. The dialogue was still changing, but it was ultimately saying that, like, even though we have this piece that we want to say, like, we want to make sure that it was the best that it could be, that we don't want to rush this.
Yeah, I remember from my 101 Things I Learned in film school, the best kind of writing is rewriting.
All right, so then after that, it just took down to planning, like, how we're going to get everything like this together, especially if we're going to do a video. There's a lot of things that come with that, but the first thing
Boy, did we learn.
Yeah, we learned. So the first thing was visuals. And so the first thing when it comes to visuals is the pre-visualization. So luckily I had a software, it was called Poser Pro.
It is called.
Yeah, it is called Poser Pro 11, and we use that as it is a 3D modeling software. It comes like with pre-purchased humans and environments and clothes and just like different ways that you can animate and pose your characters. And that was what I used as the previs, just to get a little visual cue to see like what would it all look like if it came all together, but like in a very rough version.
This might be a little like, so I remember that you had Poser before you had started talking about Assassin v Night like officially as a thing we could do, because I remember that you had built into Poser certain pre-laid out scenes and things like that. And so I'm just gonna add that you had Poser before, and you saw that there was a scene with a chasm. There was an environment of a chasm, and there were 2 characters that you already had with an assassin and a knight clothing that you could fit up and put in the scene.
Yeah, I'll admit a lot of like the way that the story went down was due to the limitations or like the environments I already had, and just making my story around that while keeping a consistent message. But yes, we had a cave with like a chasm in it. We had the 2 characters, and then we had the clothes that went along with it. But I think overall, like, it was able to create a good storyboard and a way to be a guide for Abraham to like reference and draw.
Right. So basically what you're saying is that you looked at what you had, your toolbox, and then you made something out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's kind of like a good lesson to anyone else who wants to create something. Look at what you have and what you can do, and make something out of that first.
Would you like to add to anything, Jonathan? You've been kind of quiet. You can ask questions,
Oh, no, I'm staying in the background because mostly in terms of the visuals, that was a masterwork that okay. So I'm using very high praising adjectives, but really I was kind of alien to it because it was it took quite a long time as seeing all those models
before we reached out to you. Mm-hmm. So kind of like you weren't, because before it started off with just me and Ben, and then when we started like getting the hang of this, we're like, this is gonna be a video. We thought to ourselves, we're gonna need music. And so that's when we reached out to you.
That was the very end of it.
Yeah, we'll get to that. So now, so basically, you're telling that once you had the story and the ideas, and you had your scene set up with your characters and the armor and things, you would make the shots. Each shot is basically one kind of like slide because it's an animatic. So we called them shots.
Yeah, one shot was just basically one picture.
So basically what we did with that is that he would give me the shots that he made. I believe around the time we started actually I started making the final shots was when you had like about 50 of them.
Yeah.
And so I have a program called Clip Studio Paint, basically just a simple art software. And I used my drawing tablet, and I would trace over the shots, the background in basically this chasm environment, and just make it like a black and white line work version of it.
Coloring book.
Kind of, yeah. Very coloring book style. And so we took that, and we would make that would be the eventual final product of the shots. When we first did the redraws, we wanted to make it like full color, shading and things like that.
And that's when we found out the harsh reality that everything, absolutely anything that you do within this process, it comes with a lot of it takes lots of time. It's very pricey in time.
So what we had first decided is that I was going through shot by shot, giving it full color. I would do a line work layer, then a color layer, then shading and kind of like environmental details. But we realized that around like the colored version of shot 9 or 10, that it was starting to take too long. Like Ben could make a shot in 30 minutes, and it would take me about like
2 days.
2 days to get that shot fully colored and beautiful looking.
And to be fair, we're all beginners in this. Like this is like the first time like I ever did a previs.
Oh yeah, that's why I was tracing. I wasn't even good at art. I can't draw.
Well, at least with the background, but like with the human bodies.
Yeah, I had to draw over that.
Yeah, those were references, but those faces, my goodness,
they were
original.
They were very cringe.
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'll probably have them up on the screen. So I just kept working through each shot, doing the line work, and that's what came to be that all 47, 45?
I believe it was 46.
Yeah, we did a total of 46 shots where I did the line work. And so by the time I was finished, we were already getting into the music and voice performances, but I wanted to, because of seeing that it had kind of like a coloring book flat look, there was no shading or anything. The only thing I could do was just weight my lines and add some implication of depth. So I pitched it to Ben so that we could add some light shading just to add some nice depth to it. Background shading.
And I'll tell you this, at first I was like, no way, Jose. I was like there came a point that we wanted to have like a deadline. And that deadline was May 31st, 2020. And so there came a point in where I just told Abraham, no, this is too much. We're not going to do any shading. We're just going to keep that coloring book style. But then one day
I pushed.
Yeah, one day Abraham,
I'm a mediator.
Yeah, he pushed, and then in an hour, I think you like shaded like 15 of the 46 shots, and I was thinking, whoa, we can do this in a day.
Yeah.
So that's when I actually had to I actually had to be a mediator and kind of be a lawyer for Abraham and say, well, the inconsistency, I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of bad to have inconsistency, but after all this hard work, I mean,
yeah, I had started drawing a lot of shots, and then Ben, because we were running low on time, I think we only had one
days.
more day left
2 days
to get it out. We wanted to get it out on the 31st.
And we did.
But
like after like he drew those 15 shots, like Jonathan said, like we didn't want to keep it inconsistent, and there was a point it was like I'll tell you this, like as the overseer and as like the guy
the producer.
The producer, manager, and the kind of like the guy that all the artists hate because they have so much ambition and stuff like that. There were some times in where I had to tell them, you got to limit yourself, but with this one,
no, we can't do that.
Yeah,
it takes too much time. Like remember, I wanted to do the full colors and everything, and all we got was the final shot and the first shot. Those are the only ones that were colored because
Yeah, but a lot of it was compromised, and that's something that you
Oh,
got.
and that's not even going over the redraws.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
I had did a first pass of all the shots, all 46 shots, and then because
Beautiful.
And that wasn't even me.
it took me like over a year because we were doing this like through college and our jobs, like
Yeah.
whenever we had the time, and I was not good at art, but over time and just keeping up the shots,
And
I
just,
got
like,
better and
continuing-
better.
Yeah, and just continuing to draw.
So like when you saw like shot 45 and compared it to shot 2, they like the night had very varying faces. Like it just looked weird. It wasn't even the same guy.
Yeah.
So I told Ben that I would go back and redraw the shots and so basically we have a pass of shots that are like really old and not appealing. Those ones are still colored though. Some of them are colored.
We also had this one shot like that Abram.
Oh my gosh.
That like we just like loathed over. We called
Shot 8.
Yeah, we called the dreaded shot 8.
Because that one took me forever. It was just such a bad angle. It'll be on screen, but I did not like
Look
that
at
one.
that.
It's disgusting. Look at it.
Yes, we as people in the podcast.
I could not save it. Even in the redraws, I still don't like it. But it's okay. It was good thing we didn't show it for that
We're
long.
passionate for it, though.
Yeah, we still appreciate it. So after the line work, we got the redraws, and then like it was just
Shading and
it's
colors.
color. Like I liked the color idea, but I knew it was gonna be a lot of work, so I was like, you know what? Let's just keep the first and last shot. Let's just make that color, maybe as a thumbnail, because like you don't want to put all the 9 shots that you colored
Yeah.
and put in to waste.
And keep in mind, coloring is not just going into a coloring book and saying, choosing a color palette and saying, "Ooh, I like these."
Yeah, this isn't Microsoft Paint.
Yeah, this was
Clip
looking
Studio
at
Paint.
Yeah. we there's a lot of button pressing, a lot of tapping, and a lot of setting changes. But most
Color
of all,
temperature.
And
yes.
even while it's compared to the line work, it took a significantly shorter amount of time. What the point is that we had to sacrifice a lot of things. Like we started off saying, like I even said that for the fight, I wanted it to be like all animated. Like I remember when we first said we wanted to do AVK, we were gonna do all of it, and you were like already up to 100 shots, and I was like still at shot 30 something. Because it took me forever. It still took me a longer time to do than you could make a shot. And we're saying we had to compromise and say this is just gonna have to be a part 1 or a trailer. And then another thing happens, like we can't do color. Then another sacrifice is made. We can't do that much shading. We have to do this, And then I didn't redraw every single shot. Some of them. Some of the later ones. That was when I started to get a foothold of what the characters looked like and the style and line weighting, and so I didn't redraw those. I was just that's a waste of time.
Yeah, needless to say, like the drawings was like
that was the longest. That was the bottleneck.
Yeah, it was the battleground as well, like for like all of our arguments. And believe me, we argued. We're brothers, and we're brothers and cousin. So. We
Hardly ever did.
Speaking of arguing, the music.
Yes,
Jonathan,
let's talk about that. So, in terms of the music, let's start with the composing process. So, actually, the composing process.
That was me driving to your house nearly every single day, picking you up, bringing your studio, and setting it up in my room.
Yes.
And we would.
Studios are now mobile.
Yes. Yeah. And we would just sit on the piano and we had to write a song for this.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't even have a timing of how we wanted the shots to lay out before.
Yeah, this is the thing. And this melody, it wasn't a melody at all. We were, it turned from, hey, let's make a song to let's make a orchestral background. And this took many tolls, actually. The melody took a lot of
reworking.
Lots of reworking, lots of chord reworkings, lots of chord voicings that required extensive amounts of thought
and scrutiny.
Yes.
Let me ask you this: what would you like when you were making the music and composing the music? Like, what was your non-negotiable? Like, what was something that you knew that you needed there? in the music in order to make this a good video?
Well, definitely the mood, the tone. We can't just put unfitting music. We have to give it a somber mood. We can't just put orchestral music from Fiverr.
We considered that.
We considered it. But
I threatened him too. It's like, hey, if you can't make good music, we're doing Fiverr or stock footage.
Stock footage was.
We were worried. We didn't want that.
Yeah, stock footage drove me to be able to work as efficient as possible, because I said no. This is my opportunity. I'm not losing to stock footage. So I decided.
And I didn't want stock footage either.
No one does. But last resort. See, this is the whole message of the video. It's all about the real lesson in doing this is there's lots of sacrifices to be made, lots of limits, lots of constraints that you have to think about in order to.
You have to know what you can do.
You got to set the terrain,
but also push yourself at the same way. Like we all pushed ourselves. Like, first off, this was our first thing, and this is like your first thing actually making like a first orchestral composition.
Yes, that was the other thing. That was the other little nuance.
And we did it in GarageBand 2008.
Yes.
Baby.
Oh yeah, and everybody's gonna be talking about. Oh wow, they did that on GarageBand. I thought those were real orchestrals.
Yeah.
But I'm saying in sort of the composition, we wanted to go with more of a ambient, ominous direction, because this was for the first part of how far we were getting into the story, since it's just a part 1, it was basically just the dialogue, just the knight talking to the assassin, and like right before their fight. And so we knew that we had to match the steadily rising tension. So basically Jonathan is the person who knew how to write the music and play the chords right and make it sound good, and I was the guy behind him
telling me which chords and what chord voicings are, because all I could do was perform it for him.
And I told him I was basically kind of like his director and he was the performer. I'm telling him, well, what if we made it sound like this, or what if we changed this chord and sounded a little more tense, and don't do that sounds too distant. There was so much times of like just me and him arguing whether it should have sounded like this or it was good for that or not.
And thank God it didn't get to any bickering or anything.
And
line did.
There were times I remember I was like lying just after you would leave, like after I drop you back after your house. I'm like, I'm gonna go and tell Ben that for part 2, we're going to Fiverr. I don't want to deal with this man. He does not understand what this music needs, and I want to tell him, but it just doesn't work.
Yeah, that's the thing about very opinionated minds like mine.
Both of us.
The three of us as well. I remember like coming in to check on you guys, and like I knew nothing about music, but then like the two of you would say, hey, Ben, can you take a look at this? And I'll listen to it, and I was like, yeah, that's good. and then
a moment of tension.
And then there's like a moment, but there are other times it's like, can you really change this? Even though like I have to be aware, like like one thing you have to do, like as an overseer, as a manager, you have to be empathetic. Like you can't just like ignore people's views and stuff, and you can't ignore the work that they put into it. But you also have to be honest as well. And that was a really hard.
Oh, I held my tongue for you, Jonathan. I held my tongue
as well. I was trying to tame it.
But overall, I was impressed by it, and especially with those end credit scenes and that beginning credit.
Honestly,
that beginning credit.
We just ran with the idea before we had the final music set out. Me and Ben did a short voice session using our own microphone. And we just made a faux pass, like a fake rough sketch of the voice acting, of what we wanted it to sound like, just so we could get a timing of how long the music would be. And so we would, I would take that video and bring it in to the music recording sessions or the composing sessions, and we would basically write it out how we wanted to time. I remember I had like this little chart saying like, well, this is this second's long, and we can do it at this BPM, so we can have this many measurements and have these chords and stuff like that.
Yeah, you did a lot of math for that. You were practically doing calculus, integrating and finding out. Okay, so if it's this many,
the timing
BPM,
of
yes.
everything. We
That's
wanted
that
to
engineering degree into
lots
work.
of reverse engineering into that. Yes, so
that was one of the things that I wanted. I wanted the shots to be timed, the music to be timed to the shots.
Which is much easier. Like looking back, if we tried making this in animation, the timing would have been much harder.
Because literally.
another key factor to making to the composition of the music was also not being like Mickey Mouse. We use this term Mickey Mousey, very Mickey Mousey.
Where like everything is timed to the music. Like
Exactly.
Something changes. Oh, his face changed. Oh, the shot
every
changes.
reaction has a little trumpet, like, for every time he says, "Are you going to kill me?"
So we tried to stay away from. We wanted the music to back up the dialogue and not like overcome anything and kind of like take away. Be like, why did they put this on there?
Yeah,
it sounds weird.
Yeah, the main goal for me was that the music, it shined when there was no talking, but then supported when there was talking.
Yeah, because it was a dialogue heavy.
That was the main.
It was a
vision
very
of it.
dialogue heavy scene. So.
And I knew that once we had gotten kind of like the general flow of the timing of the music, we just did some minor edits in like how loud it sounded, how things were, and after that we were pretty set on the flow. It just went through a couple of edits, changed some things, time this to this part instead of this part. We would just change the sounds. Maybe this is better, and just like after we had the general basic idea of the music. And everything figured out, we just went through it and we scored it and it worked. We played it in time, and after that, the music was basically done.
Yeah, it
we
was.
Knew that.
So, what came next was
the voice
acting.
Oh, voice
Yes.
acting.
And this really, everything was all in GarageBand. We didn't use another
voice
software.
editing
Voice software, even.
Well, we did use Audacity to remove some of the background, and
But that was in the editing.
Yeah, and
but
there's.
let's talk about like. So I don't know if it's obvious.
But wait, hold on. I think like if we do have like the previous audio, like our faux pass audio, like can we play that?
No, it's okay. We don't like to. So I don't know if it was obvious, but I am the voice of the knight, and Ben was the voice of the assassin. And so Jonathan, since he was free, we had him be sitting outside the booth.
I was sitting in the director chair, having a little paperboy cap on, and
The megaphone and
Yes.
saying like, Ben, buddy,
I need more.
I need more. I need emotion.
lots of that. It turned into a very typical
Lots of Puerto
director
Rican
scene.
screaming as well.
Yo, where is everybody?
Honestly, I would have to say that the best part was the voice acting. That was because
It was fun. Yeah, it was just fun.
It was just fun.
It was fun. Yes, it was the funnest part. Now, although you might be saying, "What do you mean the best part?" I liked,
The visuals.
yeah, the
sound.
I'd say it was quicker because the visuals with the shots, I just had to sit, be quiet, draw for a long time. For the
that's
music,
not-
we had to sit. We had to be quiet. We had to listen to it over and over again. Does this sound good? Does this
listen
sound good?
to
Tweak
each
it.
other.
But that's not to say we didn't have our challenges.
Yeah, but the voice acting was at least fun. You're doing something.
Yeah, we have a
you're
lot.
bouncing off of each other, and
Energy.
A lot of bloopers and lots of
we had lots of bad takes, and we're just feeding off each other. Be like, well, what if you said it like this? And we were just saying each other.
lots of timbre, lots of. Can you say it? I murdered those. I lose a lot of that, and I was actually.
I remember our voices were dying. Like most of the final shots.
Yes.
Most of the final takes. My voice was gone. I am
want
so
to,
glad
yes.
that I only had 4 lines as the knight. I just say
lines.
5 lines.
I made sure it was 5.
And I'll tell you, this is exactly why I'm proud of the voice acting, because it was my lucky moment. Everyone was allergic to the ambient around them. Abe and Ben were somehow just sneezing and just.
I was getting sick in that closet.
Yeah, this was I was like, yes, this is a perfect opportunity.
Wait, so you're saying that the sick sound is good for our voices?
Well, think about it, because Benjamin here sounded like a very depressed knight. One of our comments in the video said, suicidal serial killer. That kind of vibe. And I was like, yeah, that's exactly what I was going for, because he didn't have any.
Wow, what a genius. You used the environment around you and you made the best out of the situation. Congratulations, Johnny boy.
Yes, that was completely 100%
intentional.
Kiss to my brain. Beautiful.
So I'm pretty sure it was just, I don't think there's much to be explained in terms of voice acting. We just had the lines, spoke them.
Yeah, we performed it. Basically,
if it sounded good, do a couple takes, pick the best one.
We were method actors, getting into the feeling of, okay, you're in a chasm, and we actually had to say bad things to each other to make each other sad.
That was only for a few times.
Yeah, that was for a few times, but I remember for me, the hardest part was that final scream, because I made the mistake of like doing all the lines and like doing the scream in the same day without like giving some time for my voice to rest. And I remember, like,
I told you to wait. You're just like, no, we're gonna do it now and call it a day.
Yeah,
quite a few bloopers.
Yeah, I was persistent to finish it, and I think like at the 5th try, like my voice, it was like
you were done. I could not hear half of your voice.
Yeah, and so like that final scream, I was like,
but it was worth it.
This is it. This is what we need. Yeah. So I
was very proud of it.
I remember after we had finished most of the voice acting, that was on the Saturday before the deadline. And so I remember on Saturday morning, I was like, guys, I don't know. The voice acting doesn't seem right to me. I feel like we can go back right now. We still have time, and we could finish. We could do another take for some couple lines, because I was like very picky, because I was doing the editing at this point, and I was hearing the lines over and over and over again. I was like, guys, this just isn't working for you. And Ben was the one who's told me, Abe, leave it.
And I remember saying this because, like, we'll say here, like, me and Abe, we are not voice actors.
Oh yeah.
And
this is like my second time voice acting seriously. Not even professionally, just seriously. I tried.
And so like we were so afraid that it was gonna be like just plain garbage. And so like even Jonathan thought like it was just gonna be like the worst garbage ever. It was gonna be like,
guys, we were just saying
4Kids TV, ocean dub, anime dub.
And I'll tell you this, it's from what I listened to 4Kids and all this English dub, I may be biased towards saying I prefer sub because it has more emotion. But more on that later.
Okay. We already made that video.
If I think that English dub.
My respects are there.
I was very.
I'll also say this: it's like if we had a sub for this, I think I might have chosen the sub.
But I was. If I don't like English dub, then I definitely like this though, because this was something.
I was proud of it. Like even if some people think it was hot garbage, like it was our garbage. It was our passion.
Yeah, that was all I was concerned about. I told Ben, I don't care what the quality is, what the actual objective quality is. I do not want to upload something that I don't like. If I have any problems with it, I will not upload it. But if it could be the uttermost worst trash you've ever seen, but if I love it, I don't care.
Yeah.
Except for the audio quality, I have to.
Yeah, the audio quality was a little, because you were gone. You weren't on us.
We were on a deadline. It was like 11:50 when we were. Okay, well, that's actually the last part.
Even with me, it was bad because I'm not a master at EQing, as you can tell. But
I'd say the audio quality was the weakest part. I would say the best part was the shots, because that's when I added the background shading, and that was when the depth came in. That was on the final day. I woke up really early. I was like, Ben, because Ben was mad at me because I had done. That was when we convinced him to finally let me do the shots, and then he wanted to edit, but then it didn't work on his computer, so he felt like a bunch of time was wasted, and he was mad at me. I was like, Ben, I can get all these shots done. And he was just like, okay.
We are not perfect people. Yeah, Jonathan, you weren't here for that.
You know what? You would say that because you made the visuals. I think the music is the best part.
Okay.
I say the story and the characters were the best part.
Yeah, the story is what matters the most. These are just to elevate it.
But the ending part, and this was the editing. So Abe, since you were...
I mean, there's not really much to say about the editing. It's just, I put him in a editing program called DaVinci Resolve. It's free. And I just strung up all the lines together. I cut them all together, put the shots all in order, timed it, put the music, mixed everything so that it sounded nice to me, at least to what I could.
That was the best part because it was over. It was all done.
It was over. It was done. We were past the point of no return. Like, I was just compromising with myself, even though I was still not totally I was still on the fence about the voice acting. I was just like, I don't have any choice. This is just how it is. I can't.
But we're still proud of it.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that happens in a lot of movies, kind of like, or big productions, kind of like people review these things and like, this thing is utter garbage. How could they have, let this go? Or how did this get through the head of the director or something? But I think it's just because of the deadline. When you are at the race of time, and then even, it doesn't matter if you hate something, you have to get it out. No questions asked.
Yeah, better to put out something than nothing at all.
I was seriously considering asking Ben, what if we just did it Monday morning?
This is not relatable, by the way, to those people who don't submit their homework on time. For those of you out there, procrastinators.
Well, in a sense it is. In a sense it is, because like we could have said like, hey, let's delay this. So kind of like
nobody knew. We only told a few people we're doing it on May 31st. I only told like 3 people I knew that it was going to be out on May 31st. We could have easily said Monday.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but we
stuck by it.
We
stuck by it, and I think we posted it on 11:38.
It was 11:38.
11:38 with 24 minutes to spare. It was beautiful.
We did it.
We celebrated. We had wings from Pizza Hut and Cinnabons. It was magic.
It was a Saturday night scene.
It was a Saturday night scene.
So, let's talk about the
like our favorite parts. Like let's just go around. Abe, what was your favorite part of this? Like if you had like a favorite scene in the video, just because of what went through it. Like what was your favorite part?
My favorite part, I would say, was just the voice acting, the bloopers. Mm-hmm. I just really enjoyed. We had the whole day. And so I knew that we would get this done. So I was just kind of a troll. I would just mess with them and keep the mood light.
Yeah, I have to agree. Actually, it was my favorite part. I think Benjamin's deep voice throughout this whole voice acting process, it just kept me like, are you sure everybody's gonna say yes? You knew this
was gonna be good.
Yeah. It was actually funny though, because we showed this to some family members and they immediately recognized Abe's voice. But
it was me.
Yeah, it was him. But then when it was time for
the assassin to speak.
For the assassin to speak, there's who's that? When's Ben gonna be in this video? And then we had to explain,
that is Ben.
That's me. that was me, and they're like, "What? That's me?"
No,
or
that was
that's him.
I EQ'd his voice to sound deeper, guys.
Thank you, auto-tune.
Yeah.
No, that's just generally his natural ability. Yes, you are. Wow, very naturally talented.
So
natural talent.
So okay, let's talk about what we learned and what we're going to do for part 2. I learned to not sweat the minuscule stuff. I remember even for the shots, I was very detail oriented. If I drew a panel of the background, the wall texture a certain way, I had to keep that up. And then even in the final, after adding the shading, you wouldn't even notice because it's dark. But I would still do it. It didn't matter to me. I just felt like I'm pretty much a perfectionist when it came to that with the shots, and that honestly cost me a lot of time. And I'd say maybe when I go into part 2 and I draw the shots, I haven't started yet, I'm probably gonna do less detail on the background and save myself some time and probably my hand some time.
Yeah. So what lesson did you learn?
Oh, many.
Let me add, I'm not gonna be such controlling. I'm gonna be a little more loose, because I know that one thing, I had a grip on Jonathan for the music. I wanted
versus INTJs.
Yeah, I knew I wanted to be like by his side all the time, and making sure everything was going the right way. Because like when I heard the couple of things that he had done by himself, I was like, this is not good. I have to control this man. I have to make sure he gets it the way we need it. But then after a while, he just said we were just stuck on this one part, and we were like, whoa. He would play it, and I would say it doesn't sound good, and he was like, why? And I was like, I don't know. And we were so stuck.
Was that the part where I came in and I was like, yeah, it's good? Or was that,
No, it was after that.
Else?
It was
Okay.
another part where I had a small misunderstanding, and it was just a timing issue.
The point is that we had to step back, then I just decided to just work on some shots and leave him be. And that was when he fixed it, just by himself. I let him do it, and then it worked out for the
It
better.
was really kind of like, oh, I realize what you're saying. I get it now. And it was
so I'm gonna be
let the man breathe.
I'm gonna be a little less controlling in the music process.
and that's a
because
good
I'm coming back.
And
boys.
that's a good disclaimer to have, because like in many of these like shows that we see like the director and like all the cast, and we think that like they're perfect people, and like they were like sometimes like we don't understand like the emotion that's put behind it. But you have to understand, you're working with imperfect people that have their own visions, that have their own abilities, and they have their own temperaments. Like they're gonna react to specific negativity, but you just have to learn to work together. Teamwork. Friendship is magic.
So yeah,
what's gonna work?
Team.
So what was your favorite part, or what did you learn? I'm sorry.
Well,
What do you learn?
what
do you
mostly
bring into
I
part two?
learned is
I hope you learned something. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to.
I guess I learned how to make a score.
There you go.
There we
That's
go.
it.
Yeah. No, really. In all seriousness, I also learned what Abe learned, because as a fellow INTJ myself as well. How many INTJs in the house?
I'm an
Whoop,
ENT.
whoop.
I'm an ENT.
Do you still got the NTJ?
Yeah, we still have the NTJ. But for those of you
Whatever that means.
who don't know, yes, this is
16
the
personalities.
MBTI personality. Yes.
So you were saying,
What I was saying is, I also can be a bit controlling, but in a sense, I can also we all have a vision here, and we also all have to share it. In terms of finding a happy medium, I also have to let him try it, and sort of sometimes you gotta sacrifice the things you like, and it's not all
like killing your darlings.
Yes, it's not gonna be all butchered. In the end, you're gonna love having a final result, and either way, even if all your parts weren't in there, it's still it's all a teamwork. It's all team effort, and you.
It's not about the journey. It's about the destination.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is a valuable.
You have to sacrifice what you want and get what you need.
Yes, forget about the journey. It's
The journey is pointless.
Take that out.
All right. So then, what do you learn?
Well, I learned two things. One is the one that you all shared. Compromise is key. This is not a one-man band, and you can't expect everyone to have the same mind as you. And I know, like, as the overseer, and since this was like kind of my story, I kind of like took like personal ownership. I didn't want this to it was my baby. It was my first baby. And so like I didn't want to see like anyone ruin it. But then I realized is that they have voices, and their voices may speak louder, more clearly than mine, and like the different perspectives that they offered was like more
valuable.
Much more valuable, and honestly much better than what I could think of. Like with the story, I remember like just going back and forth with Abe with some pieces of the dialogue, with the lining and the artwork. I remember for like the previs, Abe would just show up.
Oh yeah.
And say like, this could be better if it was done like this. There were some times I'll just get frustrated. It's like, this is mine. I'll do what I want with it. But then looking back, it's like, yeah, Abe, and we should have done that way. But
I was right.
Yeah. So, but that was another important lesson, that to always get a second opinion. Like you don't want to do this on your own. I know that if I did all this by myself,
it wouldn't be happening.
Yeah, it wouldn't be happening if I did the story by myself without asking anyone. Like, also in regards to Abraham with the story, I also send it to a professional editor by the name of Savage Books.
YouTuber.
Yeah, a YouTuber. No, that was his YouTube name, or is. And I just asked him, "Do you think this is a good story?" And I got a response back. He's like, "Yes, it's a great story." With a few and if you put a few changes, I think it can be
even better.
Even better. And I was like I felt like energized.
Validated.
Yeah, I felt energized. And the same way was with the shots. We sent the previs shots and the final shots to another YouTuber by the name of Dylan Goo. He's a animator.
Professional at that.
Yeah, professional animator, or we could say that he has a lot of professional work, and we sent him
shots.
We sent him our shots, and he came back with a lot of notes, and they were all helpful notes, and
we're gonna use it for part 2.
Yeah, and we're planning on using those notes as well for part 2. And the thing is that especially for that final shot, I remember just looking at that and saying, it's good, but then you got that second opinion, and you saying the ways that it could be made better.
And we did make it better.
Yeah, and we did make it better.
Thanks to Lingu.
Yeah.
Shout out.
And so yeah, be sure to compromise, because this isn't a solo gig, but also remember, it's not a solo gig. You can ask for help. You can ask for second opinions, and in the end, no matter how it turns out, everyone that are behind the scenes, they can be proud of what we did. And I can say, I'm proud of what I did. Are you guys proud of what you did?
I'm proud. Look at those beautiful shots.
Beautiful shots. Beautiful story. Beautiful sound. Beautiful voice
acting. Voice direction.
Yeah, beautiful voice direction. I'd say obviously there's always going to be things that we could change, but that's just part perfectionism. Yeah. But in the end, it's ours.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of what we made.
You do what you do. Very work with what you've got.
Work with what you got. Always compromise, get the second opinion, and be proud of what you have at the end.
I wouldn't say always compromise. I would say be ready to make sacrifices.
Yeah, be ready to make sacrifices.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think that was our behind the scenes. Hope you guys
learned something.
Yeah.
Don't let this time go to waste like a lot of other YouTube videos. Anything you'd like to say, guys? As we head out,
don't forget to, if we are delayed and if you are begging for part 2, just know that look back on the behind the scenes and say, oh, that's why.
That's why. We're compromising. We're probably sacrificing.
We are sacrificing.
Remember, if coloring took a lot of time, imagine how many years.
Fractional animation, oh goodness.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, take care, guys.
Take care.